Welcome back. We love the NFL draft here, and we're going to go over some guys that are maybe just flying under the radar or they're just not getting the proper respect that they deserve in the 2022 NFL draft. But first, what's crack-a-lackin'? It is your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know so, go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse down there. Let me know some of your guys that you think are under the radar or just not being talked about enough. We're going to be going position by position. That way we got a nice little, we're talking about everybody at that point. But we're going to start with the quarterback, Kenny Pickett, man, out of Pitt. I thought he was likely coming out last year. I had like him as a 4th round grade, kind of like kept him in the same area, 4th, 5th round. I thought he was an early day 3 guy. He reminded me quite a bit of Ryan Finley from NC State. If you remember, he was in like the Daniel Jones draft, but he's been very impressive this season. Georgia Tech, who this past week, he threw 4 touchdowns, almost 400 yards. Georgia Tech's been pretty good against some legit quarterbacks in NC State's Sam Howell and Clemson's DJ, I'm going to butcher your name, Ukulele or something like that. But Georgia Tech in those 2 games, they allowed 43. They went 43-64 for a little over 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 lost fumbles. Like Georgia State was getting legit pressure. 38 pressures in those games, 8 sacks in those 2 games. Didn't happen against Pitt and the man, the myth, the legend, Kenny Pickett. Now, I still think Ryan Finley is a good comp for him. It's just, it feels like Ryan Finley with a little bit more juice in his arm. Now, much like Finley, like Pickett, I think if you're looking at his like past tape, there's a noticeable lack of zip, especially downfield. Like he was a bit, like the ball placement was fine downfield. It's just sometimes the ball can hang a bit on him just because he doesn't have that. I guess you would say arm strength at that point. But man, dude, I really think he does. I think he's got a lot more juice this year. I'm not saying like he's got like amazing arm talent. I think he's got good arm talent. Like he's got a good throw motion. It's nice and crisp. I would say in past years, he's always been so-so with his turnover-worthy plays. I think his decision-making has been quite a bit better. His processing has been good. His processing's always been good. He's been good at going through his reads. But again, the decision-making this year has been far and above better than it has been throughout his whole career. And he's taken less shots downfield. He's been a bit more, I guess you would say, surgical with his downfield shots, and it's paying off, man. He's 16-25 on his downfield shots. By downfield, I mean passes of 20 yards or more. And he's gone for almost 600 yards, 7 touchdowns, no picks. Again, I don't think the arm talent's elite. I wouldn't consider him a day 1 pick, but I definitely think he falls into that like fringe day 2 area now. Like I would definitely, like I probably, if I had to put money on it, he's probably 3rd or 4th at this point right now. We still got a whole lot of season to go, but I definitely think his ceiling in the NFL is a lot higher than just a solid backup, which is what I had for Ryan Finley. At running back, I got Jalen Warren out of Oklahoma State. I don't think this guy's going to be much higher than like a late day 3, but he's a former Utah State transfer. He became the starter just week 3 this season for Oklahoma State, and it was against Boise State, and he went off 32 carries for 218 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 14 missed tackles in that game. Baylor this week, 36 carries for 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 14 forced missed tackles rushing, and then he added 4 more receiving. The guy, I like it. He's compact, 5'8", 215. He's like a little mini bowling ball, but I wouldn't say he necessarily runs down guys. Like, I don't really think that's his game. There's times where he gets stopped a lot at the line. Like, maybe, I don't know if that's a thing where maybe he needs to put on a bit more weight, a bit more muscle. Because NFL strength, it's like, man, I don't know if this guy can really last around the line of scrimmage. Because where he does his damage is if he's able to get out in space. Because I wouldn't say he's got, like, breakaway speed. I wouldn't say he's necessarily a very agile, but he's just a smooth, he's just a real smooth athlete. I would say shifty. While maybe not like, he's not like extremely agile, he's very shifty. And you could really see it. But a guy that's really tough out in space like that, you want guys like that out in space. I think the only thing really stopping him is, again, curious what his 40-yard dash will be at the combine. Because for a lot of teams, man, you get in that 4.6, 4.7, especially 4.7 area, and it's like, you ain't gonna do well in the NFL. It just seems to be the case. There's rare exceptions, of course, but again, you're not shooting for the exception. You're kind of looking for the standard, especially late in the draft. It's extreme long shot at that point. But I like Jalen Warren, man. Especially in a weaker running back class, you're kind of looking for those gems. And then we're going to go over a couple of wide receivers. Let's start with David Bell. You might be like, David Bell under the radar? Yeah, no one really talks about this cat in terms of, like, they're willing to throw these other guys in the first round, right? They're like, that I would say are either on par or should be behind David Bell. Because, like, I think I would put David Bell up there with George Pickens. They're very similar athletes very similar in what they do and what they will provide in the NFL. I would say, honestly, at this point, I might put Bell above Romeo Doubs. Yeah, man. It just Bell seems forgotten in this receiver class, dude. I get it. He's not much of a separator. He's probably going to struggle to separate at the NFL level, but he possesses great body control. He's a solid contested catch target. He has a drop rate of 4.1% throughout his career. Only one drop this season. He's tied for 8th in forced missed tackles among receivers this season. He's got 9. The dude is a forced missed tackle machine. He's not asked to run a big variety of routes there at Purdue. And to be fair, the quarterback play, at least in the past, hasn't been that great there at Purdue. I think it's a little better this season. But again, this guy's got good size, 6'2", 205. Not a speedster, but he's definitely a guy that's going to win often at the contested catch. And a guy, you could throw to and expect to get legitimately good yardage. So I think just people are a little bit low on him just because he's not a speedster. Perhaps. I could be wrong. But let's talk about a speedster. Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati. I said last week I really want to dive, or maybe I said it at the beginning of this week, I really want to dive more into these Cincinnati prospects because I think they legit maybe got like 6 or 7, maybe 8 guys that could get drafted. That's a really good Cincinnati team. But Alec Pierce, I think, is definitely among them. I think he could maybe be in this 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th round area. So I would say 3rd to 5th. Late day 2, early day 3. Because you love his size, 6'3", 213, especially a guy that has sub 4.5 speed at that size. He is a great deep vertical threat, especially with that size, that speed. And he was clocked in at under 4.5 in 2017. I really like to see where he tests out at that. What can he maybe get sub 4.4? That would be very interesting. But he's been good at the contested catch this season, 4 or 6 on those. 16 of his 22 targets have come on passes 10 yards or more down the field. I like it a lot. He's not asked to do a lot there. So in terms of his route tree, it's not outstanding, but what he can do from a vertical route tree perspective is very good, and there's definitely a role for that in the NFL, especially in today's game. So I really like Alec Pierce, especially in what a lot of people they consider a weak receiving class. I think it's an average receiving class. Y'all just been spoiled by the last 2. And then at tight end, I got he's kind of a tight end. Sean Dykes. out of Memphis, 6'2", 224. You look at that size, you're like, that's not good tight end size. Yeah, he's more of an H-back. I think he might be the best, probably best in terms of, ideally he is an H-back. That's what he's going to be in the NFL. That's what he's going to have to be. He's probably the top at that point. H-back, fullback, whatever the heck you want to call it. But he has been real good. 5 receptions this past week against Temple for 69 yards. Awesome. And a touchdown. He's played a bit everywhere for Memphis. He's been a very good receiver this season and last. He's gone 69 receptions. It's just his number. What can I say? For almost 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's tied for first among tight ends in forced missed tackles with 8. He's a 6-year senior, so a bit older a prospect. So what we're seeing is probably what we're getting. And he's a bit more of a role player, a guy that could probably play special teams as well. I think he's very interesting. I definitely think you grab this guy, and there's a variety of different things he can do for your team. So I kind of like him there late day 3. So just wanted to throw his name out there. At tackle, he's actually the only offensive lineman I'm talking about this week. It's Max Mitchell out of Louisiana. I kind of mentioned him last week, but I didn't really get a chance to dive into many offensive linemen this week. I watch a lot of tape. Sometimes I can't get around to a lot of guys. Fortunately, I'm only one man. What can I say? But Max Mitchell out of Louisiana, I talked about him last week. I think that Louisiana Raging Cajun offensive line's got some legit talent, and he might be the best of the bunch. He's 6'6", just under 300 pounds, so that might be a flag for some people. But he's allowed 0 pressures. He allowed 0 pressures this past game on 25 pass rushing snaps. His only sack this season, and it was his only pressure allowed in that game, was against Texas, so a Power 5 school. Outside of that, he actually played very well. He's only allowed 4 pressures on the season, and that's through 172 pass rushing snaps. He's an elite run blocker thus far this season. I really love this guy in terms of, he's a great athlete, very quick feet. He's good at sealing the edge off in the passing game. And I think this dude's just a churner when it comes to blocking. Like, the dude never stops moving his feet, and it's so hard to stop this guy's forward momentum. Maybe people might be worried about his strength. I haven't really seen many snaps where I feel like he has been overwhelmed by strength. So we'll see. I think he potentially gets a Senior Bowl this year. I don't know. Again, we're in that like Rona season, so they get the extra season. So these guys that were juniors last year, they're still being considered juniors this year, but they might be eligible for the Senior Bowl. I don't know. It's kind of wacky this year. It's kind of wacky. Let's go to the defensive side. Defensive interior, Devonta Wyatt out of Georgia. I want to talk about this cat because everyone and their mom loves Jordan Davis, but they're not talking about this guy. Matter of fact, they're not talking about probably the better prospect between the two, and Jalen Carter, who will be eligible for next year's draft, and I really think could be a first rounder. That guy's amazing. If you love a man moving men against their will, Jalen Carter's your guy. But let's talk about Devonta Wyatt here. He had a really good game against Arkansas, 3 pressures, 2 sacks, and 2 stops. Dude, him and Carter obliterated draft darling himself, the center out of Arkansas. A lot of people really like this cat. Not to say he's a bad prospect because of this game, but he didn't have a good game against these guys. Ricky Stromberg, that whole Arkansas offensive line just got bodied. They didn't stand a chance from the get-go in this game. I think on their first drive, they started with back-to-back offsides. So there was like 1st and 20, and it was funny because I think this was on the first down play when it comes to Wyatt, because Wyatt, he's pretty explosive off the line, but he got slipping on this play, and he almost jumped the count early and had to go back to reset. And as he jumps early, he's going back to reset, and as he's going to reset, they call a hike, so the ball's hiked, so he has to get up, so he's already late off his get off. Doesn't matter he takes the right tackle with ease, dude. Gives him a little push and then just dips to the outside, and the guy almost falls forward on his face. Next, here's the running back. You're supposed to be pass blocking, homie. He gets one look at Wyatt and he's like, oh, no, screw that. And, like, kind of just like, lets him go by him on his way to a sack, dude. You love that. You love that. This guy's violent and he's explosive. And even when he's not explosive, he got to the quarterback first. Dude, I like Wyatt. We should be talking more about him. Definitely going to be probably in that day 2 area for me when my rankings come out. At the end of this month, likely. At edge, this guy, probably a late day 3, potentially. We'll see. Daniel Joseph out of NC State. He had, this is an interesting cat. We're going to talk about him for a moment. But had a really good game against Louisiana Tech this past week. He 12 pressures, 1 sack. He had a forced fumble. 6'3", 295. He's got real good length. You know NC State, their D linemen, they're kind of legit now. NC State's producing legit talent on that defensive line year in and year out, as we've seen. But Joseph, he's got a pedigree to him. He's a former Penn State player. He amassed 13 pressures and 6 sacks over the little bit of time he actually played there at Penn State during his 3 seasons. Never became truly a starter. And then he transfers to NC State last season in 2020, being his senior year. And he had 30 pressures, 8 sacks as a starter there. He actually got drafted in the CFL this past May, 4th overall, which really caught my eye. I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's some legitimacy here. He chose to return since he had the extra year of eligibility because Rona. So he returned this year. He will be an older prospect. Like, he's going to be 25 at the time he gets drafted. I think his birthday's in March. So he's going to be 25 by the time he gets drafted. But 25-year-olds have been drafted before, so it's not unprecedented. It's just you're not going to go early because you're likely at that age, you're typically getting what you see in terms of their physical ability. So he does have an interesting skill set that I think is worth a day 3 flyer. Because he's very adept to playing everywhere on that NC State line as that's what they do there. He's played from like wide, like the 9 tech to the 3 tech. Mainly they have him go 1-on-1 right on top of the tackle, and occasionally they'll have him kick out, which is why I think he's kind of so inconsistent in terms of his pass rushing numbers. Like I think this year he's I think he only has like 20. He has 20 pressures. Again, 12 of them coming in this one game, and then 1 sack, which came in this one game. But again, NC State, they preach run defense first, like run contain, and then go after the passer. Thus far, he had 25 defensive stops last season. He has 11 thus far this year. So I like this guy's get off. He's got good length too. I think there's a little proof in the pudding there. Like if you're willing to take this guy later on, that he could be a good legit pass rusher at the next level. But at the very least, you're getting a very good run defender. So, a guy I thought I should just bring up that he should be on some people's radars. I mean, especially like he was considered the top overall prospect in the CFL. Like the guy's from Toronto. That's why. Like if you're Canadian and you're going to like college here in the US of A, apparently you can get drafted when you're eligible in the CFL. I don't know. It's kind of weird how that things work out over there. Let's go to linebacker Chad Muma. Should probably learn how to pronounce these guys' names occasionally. I'll get there by the end of the season. Don't worry. But I think I talked about this guy a couple of weeks ago in terms of I really need to watch him. Do you blame me? I hardly watch any Wyoming. This is the only case I did. But he had 6 tackles, 5 pressures this past week, 3 defensive stops against UConn. Yeah, I know they're a basement team, but it is what it is. This guy's been a monster his whole career there at Wyoming. I was like looking at some of his stats and analytics, 29 pressures, 6 sacks on 94 career pass rushing snaps. He has an 8.1 missed tackle rate over his career. He's been very active in coverage this season. 2 interceptions, 1 pass breakup. So I was like, all right, these are good analytics. Let me go take a look at the tape. And what I saw was this cat moves a lot faster than I expected to see from a guy from Wyoming. There we go. But dude's very, very quick. He tracks the ball well, the ball carrier well, takes good angles. He's got good closing speed. I think what I was most impressed with is how he comes in as a blitzer. Like, he gets real small, real compact, and he's just nimble. He's able to squeeze between the blocks, like, super easy to get to the quarterback. Like, again, like, if you're not going to be like uber great in coverage, which I think he could be pretty darn good in coverage, then you better be a good blitzer. And he's proven he's a good blitzer. So I think there's some legitimacy to this guy. And yeah, we need to be talking more about him. And then at cornerback, I got Matt Hankins out of Iowa. Another cat we're not talking about. Them Iowa corners are pretty stinking solid. Like Riley Moss and Hankins here, dude. Hankins, 6 foot, 185. Probably going to come in and be like 5'10", 5'11". But still, you like look at him and he's like, yeah, you could probably put a little bit more muscle on his build. But he's been shut down like the last 2 seasons there at Iowa. 2 tackles, no receptions allowed this past week against Maryland. And he was only targeted once. He's been pretty dominant throughout his career. 57.3 passer or completion rate when targeted. 5 interceptions, 16 pass breakups. Also, sure tackler, 5.9 missed tackle rate. The NFL typically loves these guys in the secondary of Iowa. In general, Iowa's got some legit defensive prospects. Like, I love Tyler Linderbaum. Like, I love him. But this defense is, they got some guys that are going to be very interesting. He's a pretty darn good athlete with a nose for the football. Again, I think he could sneak into being one of the top 10 corners in this class. We'll see when I get around to doing my re-rankings. So, yeah, just guy you just really got put onto my radar, I guess. And then at safety, this guy I've been looking at since the Senior Bowl watch list came out. I got Quintin Lake out of UCLA. He actually, unfortunately, had to leave the game early. He didn't play the second half against Arizona State. An injury limited him in the first half, but 6'1", 205, pretty good size. He's this slot safe, like deep safety hybrid. They typically like to either play him deep in like a cover 2, or even sometimes they have him just center field, or they just line him up in the slot. I think he's going to be a very good option on day 3. The dude has 3 interceptions, 13 pass breakups over the course of his career. He also has a missed tackle rate of 11.3%, which is really good. I think this guy's got some good closing speed, and he does have that ability to be like, if you want him to be your center fielder in like a cover 1 or so. But I think he's at his best when it's like you could play him deep, cover 2. You could even kick him in the slot. I like that ability there. I like that he's a sure tackler as well. And I think I noticed best from him was he always kept the play in front of him. Whether it was a run or a pass, this guy doesn't let guys get behind him. That's just not in his vocabulary. You don't get behind me. No, ain't happening. You ain't going to catch me sleeping. I really like that. I would say, I think part of that, it comes to his detriment. Like, he does get a bit too conservative. And rather than maybe going out and trying to make a play on the ball, he settles for, I'm just going to stop this guy right here. I mean, the dude does have some legit ball skills. 3 receptions, 3 pass breakups over his career. But I would like to see him actually try to challenge the catch point a bit more than he does right now. But, I mean, dude, he's legit, man. He's a guy to watch out. I think he's going to be, he was on the Senior Bowl watch list. Good chance he makes the Senior Bowl. And I really like this cat. This is a very good safety class. But let me know who are some of your sleepers. And that's it for the video. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing. As always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.